the Exiled Minds podcast. Me, Liam Martin. We've had a wonderful weekend. So I'm a bit late with this episode, so I had a few bits and bobs on. So yeah, I was weighing my mental schedule. So I'll release them when I want, I suppose. But yeah. Today's episode, then, sort of catching up a little bit. Episode 9. We're going to have a little talk today about Adams Calendar. Adams Calendar is it's a little known place in South Africa. It seems to be basically a pivotal place for the story of humanity and perhaps even for our origins. So I thought, that seems a pretty important topic to go for. So it's got a difficult name to pronounce. Adams Calendar is a bit of a nickname, so I want to point that out. It's its actual place name in South Africa is Blaauboschkraal. Sounds a bit more German to me, but yeah, Adams Calendar. We're going to have a look today at its geographical significance. There's mysterious stone circles across the whole area as well, and not just where Adams Calendar is across all of South Africa. So we'll have a look at all this. Maybe we'll get some surprises along the way. So we'll see how it goes. So to start with then, Adams Calendar, discovered in South Africa. It's not sort of officially recognised as it's got having importance. So it's sort of a bit of advocation for it to get it sort of recognised as this is old. It's not just a bunch of stones, because let's say there's all kind of alignments and stuff that come into play. So we'll take a look at this. We'll take a look at its geographical significance. We'll look at these mysterious stone circles, like I say, across the whole country, all the way across South Africa and whatnot. So yeah, let's go through it. Let's break it down then. So firstly, I've got a few, 10 actually, sort of not top 10, but yeah, there's 10 interesting points that I've come up with in researching this. And I thought perhaps people might not have heard of Adams Calendar, so we'll go through it. Africa being known as the cradle of civilization, this could be really important. So let's have a look. Let's go for it. So 10 intriguing facts about Adams Calendar. Okay, for one thing, it seems to be very, very old. Okay, so got a standing stone circle about 30 meters in diameter, been estimated by some counts to be more than 75,000 years old, or up to maybe even 300,000 years old. Okay, it's got various astrological alignments. It's been identified as the site of possibly the only example of a sort of megalithic stone calendar that's kind of still working today, completely functional. So without any pieces missing in a sense. So yeah, it still works, still aligned, it's all good. There's some uncertainty about where the rocks come from. It's because, like I say, on the one hand, if you're saying it's just all just stones everywhere, some of them don't quite fit with the geology. So it's geologically, a geologist said it's difficult to explain where everything's sort of come from. It's mostly quartzite, some dolomite, some so-called intrusive rocks that really aren't from around here. That's thought, maybe it's been brought by floods or who knows what. So yeah, so the calendar still works today. And across the whole area, and like I say, all across South Africa, is an immense amount of rock that's been carried into that area. It seems it can't just have appeared there, because we'll see. We'll get into it. It's ridiculous. I mean, we're talking trillions of tons of stone making the circles in South Africa and Botswana, some parts of Botswana. So another thing is that these circles are all made with one quite unique stone, Hornfels. Okay, and Hornfels has got a very specific composition. It's 45% silicon dioxide, 28% being aluminium, magnesium and iron, of which most of that is iron. So yeah, it's also got a composition that makes it very close to a quartz crystal. And its most important and interesting property is that it's got acoustic properties. They ring, literally ring like bells. Okay, and the last point I want to make, the 10th point, these strange little unique facts about this sort of area is that Adams Calendar has actually been measured to have energy emitting out of it. Okay, but the energy is in the form of sound. And within the stone circles of Adams Calendar, they've measured sound at 72 decibels. It's pretty loud. I think it's 96. When I was in like noisy factories, 96 I think used to be the sort of limit. You know, that you had to, weren't allowed to work higher than that, even with earplugs. So I think that's 72 decibels, pretty loud. And but that's at 14.5 gigahertz. So people not hearing it, you know. It's been recording in frequencies between 200 hertz and 16,000 hertz as well. It's pretty close to human hearing, which is 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz. So, you know, it's within the sort of range. But like I say, these gigahertz, people not hearing it, but there's an enormous amount of sound coming from out of there. So that's a bit strange. The discoverer person that we accredit for first recognising its significance, the discoverer of Adams Calendar, is Johann Heim, for discovering it's got these. It's got southeast, north, south, east, west cardinal point alignment to the planet. Okay, it's got these. It's slightly off by 3 1/4 deviation. It's almost it's suggesting that it's lined nice, it's built well, lines with the stars, it's good. Which we'll get into, but it's slightly off. Is it indicating that the axis at the time was slightly different? We'll get into, because it connects to other things as well. Because this is the thing when I'm saying it's slightly off. It aligns, it works, it's working kind of, it's good, but and there's some mountains in the background as well. Some people think of pyramids. There's 2 large ones and a smaller one, you know, off the side, like Orion's belt. And it does align with Orion's belt, these hills in the background. When you look for the calendar aligns with Orion's belt, and then you've got these hills, the 3 hills that align with it. So it's all kind of looks like, you know, as if they're pyramids, or somebody's spotted some hills that are perfect to match up with Giza. Because that's the thing. It links in with Egypt and Cairo as well. Although we're in South Africa for Adams Calendar, actually, I'll get a picture shared on here. Get rid of this logo. So we've got an image here of one of the stone circles I was talking about. But if I get, I've got some new technology here, so we can get an image of Google Earth up. So I've found some interesting stuff. So I thought I was looking, and we'll see at the top here on Google Earth we've got is where Egypt is and the Great Pyramids. I'll just zoom in for people on the video so you can see that's where it is. A little push pin there. Little marker there for the pyramids. I've drawn a red line going straight down Africa, and it's on the 31st parallel. The reason I've done this is because it's aligned with Giza, to Adams Calendar, right at the bottom in South Africa, just below the Tropic of Capricorn. We've got Adams Calendar right here, and then these hills in this region to the east. I'm not sure exactly where, but there's some hills, the 3 hills there that look like pyramids. Okay, and it goes going straight up, perfectly straight line, all the way to Giza, perfectly straight. So they're both built on the 31st parallel of the planet going east. 31st, like, you know, the lines of the planets are divided up in grids, and that. It's on the number 31. Lines up with Giza, which is on number 31. Okay. So I thought that was a bit strange. They lined up with these mountains, Orion's belt. So I thought, you know, that's interesting. You know, and these hills as well, it's not the first time that they've been sort of spotted. You know, I'll have a look at, I'll just quickly open this link here. because I've got an article from solarray.net that I want to just quickly mention about these pyramids. It's not the first time somebody's sort of mentioned them. There's a couple of pictures here. There's some pyramid-shaped hills. Okay, so we've got Dr. Carmen Balto, who's a professor at the University of Calgary in Canada. She's a graduate in Division of Educational Research in the Faculty of Education. Been writing about sacred feminine in ancient Egypt and goddesses around the world for 2 decades. Okay, she's been writing about this stuff, done a lot of research, 20 years. Got a book, Angels and Archetypes, an evolutionary map of feminine consciousness, traces fragments of information about matriarchal cultures in the pre-dynastic Egypt and prehistoric Greece around the world.com. Also wrote the Pyramid Code. Okay, and director and producer and the writer of a series, Unshakable Passion for travelling to Egypt and Egyptology. I've been there 25 times. Okay. She made some interesting statements. She's been writing about these pyramids for a while, so I want to point her out. I'll put the links in the descriptions. But yeah, I thought I'd show these images and show that there's a professor here that's pointing out some of these hills around Africa, around that region, really do look like pyramids. So just so we're not saying it's too crazy, too far out there. Okay, so there's a stone man as well. There's like a bust. It's thought to be a bust of a person on a. I don't know if I get an image of this actually. I didn't find a couple. I'm about to get one here. But yeah, there's a bust of a stone man. Okay, and that's it's since been moved. But it used to be part of the calendar. No, by the sort of the layers of patina and stuff, and the fact where it fits and whatnot. But yeah, so you can get a quick image of it. But yeah, they've moved it and stuck a sort of plaque on it now. There's a picture of well, it's handy actually. There's a picture of Michael Tellinger. I'll blow this up. Michael Tellinger is the person that did the research. I wouldn't have sort of known about this stuff probably if it wasn't for him. So I'll put links to his website in the description because he's done some diligent research. He's opened a little museum as well near to Adams Calendar. Opened, bought a property and sort of set up a little museum and place you can have a drink and stuff, and a little bookstore. So it's really cool. But yeah, what's thought to be the bust of a man, a stone man there. It's supposed to sort of face out. It's like I say, it's aligned with Egypt, but it's sort of slightly off. And that's why I mentioned the sort of Google Earth thing, and then I drew a line all the way up to Egypt from Adams Calendar in South Africa, because it seems that these things are aligned. Okay. Now, it was originally, it would have aligned with the spring equinox. Okay, that last alignment was occurring like 285,000 years ago. Okay, so that's what I was thinking. Maybe it goes back as far as 300,000 years. Okay, and there's other reasons why this has sort of been suggested. It's mostly by Michael Tellinger. Okay, but the precession of the equinox takes 25,772 years. So we get all this movement, we get these long cycles. I mean, going all the way around the galaxy, I mean, it takes like 280 million for the sun to go all the way around, whatever. But this spot where Adams Calendar is, right down in the bottom of Africa, South Africa. Zulu shaman Krida Mutwa, he was a Zanussi, he's a keeper of the sort of history. He passed away now, sadly. Krida Mutwa spread a lot of African history. He said that, I mean, he knows the stories and really knows his stuff when it comes to it, but he said that this place is the clitoris of the earth. He says it's the insemination site where the heavens mated with Mother Earth. And he calls Adam's Calendar one of the two most important sacred sites on Earth, and the other one being in northern Botswana. There's a serpent worship site. There's a place, we call it sort of Snake Rock. It's the oldest, where they've got the oldest evidence of religion ever found. The ancestors of Botswana's Sand people. So yeah, you've got yeah. In fact, let's have a little look at that actually on the screen. So yeah, we've got Botswana Sand people. Let's see if we can get a quick image of the rock. Oh, I'm not seeing it here. If I had a picture. But anyway, moving on. You say you can check the links in the description. But yeah, so this area is supposed to be pretty important. Credo Motwa, so held up. You know, he was like sort of part of the secret societies in Africa. Credo Motwa. So yeah, he knows his stuff. But he's talking about so the ancestors of the Botswana, the San people. In the article, it's saying apparently they ground away a natural outcropping of rock about 2 meters high, 6 meters long, made it like a snake. There's a lot of snake worship sort of going on there. So yeah, I mean, it says, we believe this is the earliest archaeological proof of religion. This is Dr. Colson, from a Canadian expert in Stone Age tools, told Reuters. So the findings were made during a trip in mid-2006 to in the Solido Hills in northwestern Botswana. So before that, previously, the oldest religious worship was in European caves from 40,000 years ago. It was the oldest evidence. So now, you know, Botswana got nearly double that at least. You know, so you've got, yeah, I mean, got the sort of snake worship, and that was of course always a symbol of wisdom as well. The snake worship. I've got another article here. I've got a picture of this one. Yeah, I mean, say the finding that stuff and shaman chambers and whatnot, but yeah, snake worship, that sort of stuff happened. So it's supposed to be an important region, so we go back really far. And there was another quite interesting thing as well, that this you know, I'll get Michael Tellinger's website up. There was, I'm sure he said that there was there's lots of carvings around there, like it's all broken. I mean, it's really, really old. He's talking about, he's seen this head that looks like the head of a sphinx, but I'm gonna get a good picture of it. Let's have a look. Because yeah, it's head of a sphinx. He said it was a sphinx, but I mean, it's really, really old. It's hard to tell with this stuff. There's lots of carvings of birds. Could have had wings on at some point because they're really worn down, but you can tell the head shape of birds. He's talking about, Michael Tellinger is talking about, which you've got to consider this. I mean, the writings of ancient Sumer, they're going way back. It's supposed to be, you know, the start of agriculture and modern civilization and whatnot. So, you know, and according to Sumer, they're talking like this is 300,000 years ago stuff, you know, which hits the same time when Homo sapiens sapien first appeared. Okay. And in this area, it's thought that in where Adams Calendar is, it's thought that there's a king buried there. Okay, this from the sort of all the Sumerian stuff and the Sumerian epics and the African history. It's all that sort of stuff is all tied in together in Africa. Okay. So I mean, you know, jump on Michael Tellinger's website and we'll see I'll find a quick picture of this Sphinx head, because I remember mentioning this. But yeah, I mean, you can say it's up on a cliff. It kind of overlooks the valley. And he said that yeah, it's thought that there's a king, King Dumuzi, or later was known as Tammuz. So King Dumuzi was thought to be an ancient Mesopotamian god. Okay, but he's an ancient god, but he's thought to be monotheist. Were listed in the Sumerian kings list as antediluvian king of in the city of Badtibra. Okay, and he was also an early king of the city of Uruk, which Saddam Hussein, I think, is thought to be mythical, and he found it, which is just before people, soldiers went in, Americans went in, and did all the Iraq thing. So I always wondered, did he find some stuff? Because his feast, grave of Gilgamesh was supposed to be in Uruk. So that's another, ancient Sumerian was supposed to be like a god. Was he an alien? Or he was supposed to be partly alien. I don't know. But so this king then. So it's could be saying it's the same kind of cast of people sort of thing. So it says in the textbooks, it says in the 19th and early 20th century, scholars of religion says Tammuz was widely seen as a prime example of archetypal dying and then rising kind of god stuff. Discovering the full Sumerian texts of Inanna's descent into the underworld in the mid-20th century, it overturned the idea that it sort of ends with his resurrection, because it says that there's passages about later on that was discovered of talking about how he died. And so the proposal of the gravesite at Adams Calendar is supposed to be on the edge of the northern side of the site, northern side of the circle. They call it, I think there's a little fence around it, they call it the stone altar. It's well known among the shamans and then Sangomans to be a sacred place. So, and from looking through the sort of Sumerian translations, which will mostly be from Zecharia Sitchin, always gets a mention of this stuff. He says he's figured out that it's Inanna's when Inanna's burying Dumuzi, the location seems to be it's at Adams Calendar by all accounts. So they've got some infrared photography of the area of the ground to see what they can find, and lo and behold, they found something that's buried 3 meters deep, but it's also 3 meters tall. Okay, so this stone altar area has got something actually buried under there, 3 meters long, and it faces east towards the hills that are proposed pyramids along the equinox. So it's like, well, I've got a picture of the alignment here for those who are viewing on the video. So yeah, faces east. So I don't know. It's weird, man. But we're talking about this 3 meters tall person. Then are we talking a 3 meter tall person? That's could just be a very tall person, right? Or does it represent the giants of old? Bear in mind that Anunnaki were thought to be tall. We say, aliens crazy tall. But I mean, we look at the Bible. We're not allowed to say that's crazy tall, upset people. But Noah in the Bible was stated to be 30 cubits high, which equates to around about 9 feet. And Adam in the Bible was thought to be 60 cubits high, so he's twice that, so he'd be 18 foot. So the 3 meter figure is not so out of the box, really. 3 meters equates to like 9.8 inches. And then the Guinness World Record, I looked it up, tallest ever person recorded officially, is 8 foot 11. So it's not that much more. 3 meters. So and plus Abraham Lincoln, quoted 1848, said the eyes of that. This is Abraham Lincoln, the Abraham Lincoln. This is the eyes of that species of extinct giants whose bones fill the mounds of America have grazed on the Niagara, as do now we. So I don't know. Talk of giants. And Richard Dewhurst, Emmy award-winning writer, HBO featuring documentary Dear America. Richard Dewhurst, who did Dear America, Letters from Vietnam. He's a graduate of NYU, degrees in journalism, film, television, written and edited for the History Channel, art and entertainment for PBS, Fox Television for Fox Films, ABC, News, Paramount Pictures, doing stuff. That guy, Richard Dewhurst, he wrote a book about giants. The ancient giants who ruled America. Meticulously chronicles the missing giant skeletons of one of the Smithsonian's greatest cover-ups. So, the Smithsonian got a mention in the last episode for potentially covering stuff up, and then I featured an article of where they got caught, and these guys wrote a book here. Richard J. Dewhurst wrote a book about that too, and it's about giant bones, and I've read myself. Back in the day, years ago, I've been able to see those when you go to archives in libraries and you get those microfilm slide things and you get pictures of that. I've seen some of them from back in the day, from say the mid 1800s, talking about these giant bones that's been found and stuff. So yeah, and people they've been on museums before. People have seen them, took pictures. So yeah, you got some big people. So it's weird, man. It makes you wonder about these giants. So, I mean, we've possibly got a king buried there. This links into ancient Sumer. It could be ancient Sumerian king, no less. And it said the number on the 31st parallel, well, the name of God is El, which is Elohim in Hebrew, and it has a numeric value of 31. The Anunnaki number's 31. The number of gods, 31. This is all 31, 31. So it seems to be significant. And so, I guess Google Earth thing back up. Yeah, so when we look at Google Earth, we're getting I'll zoom it back a bit. We've got lined up here along the 31st parallel, we've got Adams Calendar. I mean, I mentioned the pyramids earlier. Up here is where the great Zimbabwe ruins. Alright, you go further up. I thought, let's just have a look just to see what's interesting going up this line then, because I knew the pyramids were there and the Great Zimbabwe ruins. So I followed the line up, scanning it. Took me a few minutes, it's Africa's big, man. I had to get in close enough to see some stuff. A few interesting features, but then I noticed it cut across this lake. Right, and I zoomed into this lake, just, so I'm zooming in pretty close, doing stuff, and I noticed, if it'll show me now, for people to see, there was on the right side of this pin where I've put look, there's some little red blocky bits like Tetris things right on Google Earth where the water is, where this lake is, and it kind of looks a bit like maybe it's some ruined city, and there's two little blocks of this red stuff, and it's showing it on the video, and I'm thinking, what the hell's that? So it got me wondering if there's like an ancient city down there, if there's anything funky around this lake. So I looked it up. Yeah, and lo and behold, I kept pulling this thread. I thought, you never know, it's using weird stories. And it turns out there's some legends. There is a legend around there about the Bachwezi people and the empire of Kitara. It's a big story about the Bachwezi empire. I'm like, what? Empire of the sun? And I'm thinking, you know what? And then empire of Kitara. It included what corresponds to modern Uganda, northern Tanzania, eastern Congo, we've got the Democratic Republic of Congo, Rwanda, Burundi, Zambia, Malawi. There was this big empire from 10,000 BC to 1,500 AD. Okay, and I'm like, well, there's along that same 31st parallel line. There's also just happens to check this thread out. What is apparent? Is that the underground things on Google Maps? It turns out, there's a big legend from there. Oh yeah, the Bachwezi people, just like the predecessors, the Dumuzi, the Bachwezi possessed divine powers, and at the same time, they had a human. It said they had divine powers and human characteristics that got them referred to as demigods, and since they belong to Earth and the underworld as well. And I'm thinking, what, the underworld? Okay, and from this website, BindwiniUgandaGorillaTrekking.com. Okay, a bit of a mouthful. It says that so it's, from Uganda website, newspaper, and that it says that it is believed that the Bachwezi were the ones that introduced the longhorn cattle of Ankoli. They were introduced iron smelting, coffee growing, the first semblance of organised and centralised government under a king. No one is sure about where the Bachwezi ended up, but some believe they were demigods and could have migrated and probably disappeared into Lake Albert. This lake is Lake Albert. This is the lake that we're talking about. It looks like it's got structures under it, and it's like it happens to be a legend, and it says, yeah, they went into that lake. And that's on that 31st paragraph. I thought that was weird. What are the chances of that? You know, some say they disappeared into Lake Albert, while others claim they disappeared into Lake Wamala, as nearby. So it's like, well, okay. One of the famous scholars that writes that the Bachwezi got, you know, possibly assimilated into indigenous people of the Bahima, or in Uganda, the Tutsi, and in Rwanda, they might be the Burundi, might be all just assimilated. However, the thing about that is that, as it states in their ancient origins, there was legends about them, and they were thought of demigods because they were quite extraordinary people for a number of reasons. Although they were thought of as looking human enough, they had some distinctive features that they were unusually tall, okay, and the heads were a distinctly unhuman shape. So, you know, there's more giants again with funny heads. Could be some, you know. This has resulted in some people attributing their unusual appearance as evidence that they were demigods. That's why part of why they thought they were demigods. Other people think they're a race of ancient aliens. In addition to their physical appearance, they said to have these supernatural skills far beyond human abilities. As mentioned earlier, they were even worshipped by the Ugandans, who called on them to intervene in times of crisis. The Rwanda and Burundi people, who worship the Cheswi, call them Ibimanuka, which means people who landed as gods. Well, that's funny because in Sumerian, ancient Iraq, Anunnaki means those who from heaven came to earth. So people who landed as gods, those who from heaven came to earth, and this lake is on the 31st parallel. And the Anunnaki number is 31, and the number for God, Elohim, 31. So that seems weird, doesn't it? Eh? So there you go. It's definitely worth following your curiosity, because what happened there? I can't believe that. That was a lucky find, wasn't it? Just random chance. I might not have bothered, but, you know, just check it out just in case. You know what I'm saying? So, creepy. That's some creepy business, isn't it? But, yeah, okay. Okay, so at this point, let's get back on track. Adams Calendar. It's some weird stuff, man. But also in this story, we've got to include so there's alignments and whatnot that we can sort of, you know, there's astrological alignments. I'll say it's a calendar, you know, and it still works. So we don't sort of need to go into all the sort of like measuring things and stuff. We've looked at the fact that with this other pyramids, sort of pyramid-shaped mountains. Okay, so I'm going to have a look at, I'm going to move away from it slightly in a way, but not because it's connected to it. We're going to have a look at these stone circles. Okay, so I'll put one of these on the screen. It's a good example. There's stone circles around this area. There's loads of them. But they're not got these standing little hinges like Adams Calendar, marking out calendar. They're just like clusters of circles. You know, the way in the way in. I mean, there's loads of them all over South Africa and Botswana. There's just loads and loads of these. They've all been dismissed as corrals for cattle, but they've got no entrances and they're just not suitable for that. And there's just so many all over the place. It just don't make no sense. Make any sense. The weighing from 20 to 30 kilograms each, and the amount of circles that there are. You do the math on it, and it represents trillions of tons of stone, not millions or billions, trillions with T. So there's loads of stones. You've got to be looking at what is all this, you know. And so you got these stones that the standard explanation is, like, say, the corral, and they've got roads that connect them together. But it's one of them guess things, and not bothered. These circles are like connected more like a bunch of grapes, because they've got these clusters of circles in a kind of radial pattern. But every single one of them, these stone circles, every single one of them, all the stones is made of trillions of tons of stones, right? All made with the same stone, same type of stone, all made with this unusual, all found with like unusual stone tools as well, all made from the same stone. The tools and all of the rocks, all of these stone circles, made of Hornfels, we were mentioned earlier, in the composition being close to quartz. And it's got these acoustic properties that it rings like a bell. So now, so perhaps the stone is a clue to it, because that seems weird, isn't it? The same type of stone, just tens, hundreds of thousands of these stone circles, all with exactly the same type of stone. So that seems purposeful, you know. It seems purposeful, and definitely been carried there by somebody and put there. There's natural stone clusters of stone circles all over the place. So I say, got these acoustic properties, the gigahertz sound readings in the calendar itself. So the whole story of these structures concerned with sound, it seems, turns out, while Adams Calendar's got these definite alignments with stars and still works today, these stone circles, on the other hand, are not. Not only are they immense in number, but they've all got irregular shapes. Let's say little clusters, almost like grapes. There seems to be no continuity, like someone's designing them, except for they're all in a bit of a radial pattern. Okay, but that's assuming someone's placed each stone like by hand, you know. And because of the acoustic properties, it seems like it looks as if there's some sympathetic vibration stuff going on here, like with the works of resonance and sympathetic resonance to move objects. Because it's been known since the 1800s with John Keeley, I think, was the first person to demonstrate it. So I'll put a link in the description to John Keeley. You can look that up. And yeah, so through to modern times, I mean, again, another link, I'll put the links in. Someone levitated a frog with electromagnets, and with there's been sound levitation experiments. You can check that out on the internet. There's someone moving a ping pong ball in various ways, making it spin and stuff with different frequencies. And there's one that you can find, I think, on YouTube, where they're moving sand around, like making mountains and stuff, and making landscape type things with different sound, different frequencies. Crazy. And there's even, I put this in the link, there's a music video where somebody's using vibration to be represented as a shape, because every tone's got a shape if you can have a medium to, you know, show it. So you've got his music videos, does it with oil and stuff and whatnot. But this is the thing. There's a thing called Cymatics, which is I think what this is all about. So Cymatics, basically a subset of wiki. This is a wiki description says Cymatics is a subset of modal vibrational phenomenon. The term was coined by Hans Jenny in 1904 to 1972, a Swiss follower of the philosophical school known as anthroposophy. So it's typically like a surface plate, a diaphragm or membrane is vibrated. Various the regions of maximum and minimum displacement are made visible by a thin coating of particles, paste or a liquid. So basically the liquid will jump around. It's a bit like the ferromagnets. You know, you get some iron filings and then put a magnet underneath the desk or whatever it's on, cardboard, and it like kind of stand up. Just the same kind of thing, so you can represent the frequencies visually. So with cymatics and these circles, it almost, to me at least, they're so similar. They're so similar in terms of the shape. The way that cymatic patterns come out with these sort of tones. You know, little image here for the people on the video. So yeah, and that's in obviously in a liquid. You get these sort of cymatic patterns. You know, you can do it yourself. You create the tones. Yeah, this is on a harpsichord soundboard. Put some pepper on there or something. You know, you can do it with a plate, Yeah, you can do this. You know, you can see there's plenty of videos sort of on YouTube. You can look at it. It's really quite interesting. But yeah, I mean, with cymatics, this is what these patterns look like. They look like cymatic patterns. You know, we've got for the video. We'll have a look at some quick examples of some images. Yeah, you get these sort of various patterns that will kind of, depending on the tone, it will make a different pattern, and it always the higher the frequency, the more complicated the pattern. So it almost is like, oh yeah, your higher vibration, the more complex you are, the more whole you are. It's you get more complex the more they go up. So if we just flip back to the, if we consider the image that like a cluster of grapes, and then look at some of these cymatic patterns, you know, it just seems that some of them are very, very similar. And I was looking for an article I can't find it. Man, I've read it, I've never seen it. I've heard it mentioned in news shows where there was some cave paintings that were found that look very similar to cymatic patterns. You know, and some carvings do. When you've saw these cymatic patterns, if you've never heard of it, and you start seeing how close they look to sacred geometry. So it seems that a lot of this is to do with geometry and sound, you know, and that could go to explain. This is the working theory at the minute. It goes to explain why they're in these unusual, random kind of arrangements, because they're all completely unique. Because what it is that they're not necessarily been put into the position that they're in. The stone might have been brought here by people, but the position that they're in, it's thought that it's been done with sound, been levitated with sound, and they've ended up in those resting places. So when we're seeing these stone circles, seemingly random placements and rough arrangements, these are cymatic patterns. They've somehow been levitated and they've agitated and come to lay in a natural resting place. So that pattern that we see is representing the sound frequency coming out of the ground at that spot. So, you know, and it's very similar to the shape of these sort of circle, and then with sort of clusters of circles and a circle in the middle. It's like it's very similar to a cavity magnetron, which you get in microwaves, and for making high powered microwaves, and that uses sympathetic oscillation, you know. So you got this sort of working with it, sympathetic sort of frequency stuff going on, you know, and each and every one of these stone circles is totally unique. You know, all over. So you're seeing all over South Africa and Botswana, we're seeing these fingerprints of the local energetic patterns represented in these stone circles. Yeah, saying it was the magnetron that was used for microwaves. You'd be hard pushed to, you know, World War II they used them for radars to get, you know, more high powered radar, see smaller craft and stuff. So if these devices can be used for modern stuff for us to do, and they're only a few inches wide, what if you've got one that's 22 diameters wide and tens of thousands of them, possibly hundreds of thousands of them? You know, can they be? Is that why they seem to be connected? Can they, you know, amplify each other, or is it, you know, got loads and loads of projects on? And the idea is, it seems that, you know, perhaps these have been used for mining. Okay, which we'll get into. But in terms of, I mean, like the electrical motors and the magnetic principles and these sound principles, we've known about them for a while. You know, it's you know, I mean, it's stuff with like Tesla was talking about that with the radar. Is it like the Tesla death ray? I mean, he's talked about he's worked on and built torpedoes, but electrical waves would be more destructive. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, well, can you couple sound and electricity and electromagnetism? You know, can it be transmitted? Because can you transmit this stuff? I mean, because this planet's making sound all the time, so if you can tap into it, and I think that's what Tesla might have been doing with his radiant energy, tapped into the sort of sound, you know. So I mean, sympathetic frequencies have been used for a while. I mean, it's like almost talking like in modern times we've got wireless got wireless electrical transfer using these sympathetic frequencies and oscillation. You know, we've got them QI chargers and, you know, charging your toothbrush and stuff, and we electric motors that can do that. You know, and I mean, the universe, in the New Scientist, there was an article that was well, actually it was featured a guy from the University of Nottingham, which is just down the road. But yeah, they were talking about the saser. They've got this sound laser. Basically, I call it a sound laser. It's a bit of a misnomer, really, I suppose. But yeah, the University of Nottingham. Just 10-minute walk from here. Had this article about where they made a kind of sound laser, and they'd be the first one that could get it up to sort of terawatts kind of region. And so, yeah, I mean, he was saying that it appears that they've got these, they can make sound lasers now, and it looks like they're starting to employ that in mining and things these days. And so it's like, well, it's kind of new for us. Do you know what I'm saying? Doing this stuff. So it's kind of no wonder they didn't really know what it was. Thought they were corrals for cattle, you know, but there's so many. And this is what it looks like it was. And we've got these stone tools I mentioned that also made a Hornfels with the acoustic properties. A lot of them, there's also a lot of some that are carved, they're mad about carving birds. And Zimbabwe, you know, they've got some more refined ones. But yeah, there's man carving birds. Hathor was the protector of mines, and they've got these birds everywhere. So it looks like, oh, they're carving the protector symbol. Hathor used to protect the miners and the gold. So they've got these mining mascots being carved as well, you know, because that was the thing in ancient Egypt mythology. Hathor protected the quarries and the mining. So they find all these bird carvings as well. These tools that are sort of that are like they've got these stone crucibles, okay, with a spout on, as if they want to tip something out. They've got grooves on the side to indicate that they're being suspended, so they can tip the contents out easily. You know, so it's sort of like smelting was going, and some of them they've got iron residue on them. Some of them are broke, and you can see the laser patina, which is like it indicates it grows on the outside of the stone and indicate how long it is, because the longer the thicker it gets, the slower it grows. So it's got several centimeters thicker patina. You know, Michael Tellinger reckons the growth rate on that stuff is 1 millimeter about every 10,000 years. So we're talking a lot of age in here. So we've got these stone tools, stone crucibles, look like they're used for smelting with a spout on and whatnot. And this link to these, you know, the strange Bachwezi tribe that were already accredited for bringing iron smelting here. So think, hang on a minute. It looks like, and these cone, they have these rod and cone shaped tools as well that ring like bells. And so the thinking is, as crazy as it sounds, it seems like these might have been used as focusing tools to channel and focus energy, much like a crystal is used for a laser. But they're using sound, and we know you can make like sound lasers, sasers these days, and the applications for what you can do with it is not really, because it's kind of new. You don't really know what you're going to do with it yet. And when the laser was first invented, people thought that was just a curiosity, a novelty, you know. So in this context, it makes it look like these connections, these are acting like circuits and wires, these roads between them. And maybe they can be used as, we've got levitating, acoustic levitation effects. Maybe the moving stones around, you know, like there's magna-leviton train things in Japan. I mean, who knows? But it just all seems really strange. It seems like there's some advanced mining, some society back in the days doing stuff, you know. No, and it's not just this mystery. There's literally hundreds of examples of ancient technologies better than today. There's evidenced extensively in Dead Man's Secrets by Jonathan Gray. If you want to check that out, there's hundreds of examples of ancient technologies that are better. So I mean, so it would seem that Adams Calendar's location in relationships to the stars, its lines with the stars, and Egypt is connected along that straight line, along the 31st parallel, straight up, goes through the great ruins of Zimbabwe, through that lake where these people are supposed to have disappeared to, Bachwezi. So it seems very historically significant. And the history of, the Sumerian hill stuff says that Enki commissioned the building of this place, it seems. And this is supposed to be the place where human beings were originally cloned or altered, whatever. And we were called the Lulu Amenlu. Lulu Amenlu, that's what we called us. And the kind of red people, like red like the dirt. So it's like, what is this? What is this all about? And so the Hathor link, I mean, I've got to mention a previous episode, because I don't know if I mentioned it on an episode. I mentioned the remote viewers. The remote viewers from the Farsight Institute. And yeah, they remote viewed to see if some of these people are real, namely Ra and Apophis and Hathor came in. And it turns out these people are real, and Hathor was supposed to be a right tyrant. They were the right tyrants. So, maybe it's those people. I don't know. Maybe it's some of them people from the Parthenons and that. But I'd say another interesting thing that I spotted out, I'll just put it on the Google Earth just for those watching the video. This is pretty cool. I thought I'd heard then that if you put a golden mean spiral starting from Adam's calendar, then it kind of like covers Africa and it ends up at the pyramids. I thought, well, I'm going to check that out because you get a picture of one and just overlay it. Right. Google Earth is new technology for me. Before I try it, boom, shanker. For those on the old Google Earth thing, you can see where I've, just blown up the image so it fits. Look at that, look. Starts right at Adam's calendar. You start here at Adam's calendar. Golden mean spiral. Look at the first circle. Starts to the first circle. Look, Great Zimbabwe ruins are right in the middle. Right, in between the start of distance. Right, okay, that's pretty interesting. It's pretty central. But then if you look at this sort of second layer of the golden mean spiral, in between Egypt and Adam's calendar, right in the middle, look, is where Lake Albert is, where the Bachwezi is supposed to disappear to and been a legend in this area. So I thought, oh, that's weird, isn't it? There's a big line, happen to have those creepy people in the lake thing. You got golden mean spiral that does in fact line. I thought, what the hell? They've got all sacred geometry and stuff going down, man, and cymatics and stuff, and using frequencies and like, what? This is. I mean, there's sacred geometry all over the world as well, numerous places across the world. So what are we looking at? This ancient super race. Graham Hancock's been talking about it. It looks like we just got to face facts. There used to be giants and an ancient super race. There's at least that, and there's aliens probably. and they might be from other dimensions. These are the kind of things we've got to deal with these days. So it's like, who are these people? Who were these people back then? What happened to them? Are the things they left behind still being used today? Are they left secrets behind? Do we get encouraged to ignore sites like this? Or when they are sites, they put fences around them, they say, oh, so we don't mess them up. Really, it discourages investigating stuff and getting close and finding things. And do they already know what this stuff represents? And that's why they fob it off. I mean, it makes me wonder. That's why I said one always wants to ask the questions and think, well, pulling on that thread to find the Bachwezi, I never knew about them, so that's a whole new thing I know about. This sacred geometry line gets me thinking, oh my god, I wonder if, there's other stuff connected like that. I thought it was amazing, that line that connects them all. And with the mentioning that this line where they're connected is slightly off, ever so slightly off. Crossing the parallel, as if the planet might have been on a different axis when it was built. And that was interesting, I thought, because of the Box saga, which I've mentioned before. If you check out the Box saga, we've got an ancient Finnish family that's supposed to have found some ancient Finnish temple, some information about the sort of origins of humanity, and this was mostly surrounding this language. It's kind of natural language that came from nature. Okay, and they were talking about, you know, the first people came from the North Pole, and at that time it was kind of always nice and sunshiny mostly, and yeah, there's this whole thing, there's all bit, there's loads of fascinating things in the Boxhaga book, but I thought that was interesting. They said the people who used to originally came from the North Pole. There's a few accounts saying that. So they did a show about Agartha, which with that sort of came up in terms of talking about, you know, could that be to do with the Hollow Earth? But that was you know, as another show. But I mean, in terms of this, if Adams Calendar's indicating that the alignments are indicating that perhaps the planet was a different angle on the axis, and that's what it's saying in the Boxhaga. It's saying that it used to be straight, didn't used to be at an angle, it used to be straight and normal. So it'd be interesting. I mean, I don't know how to do the math on it and the stellar cartography. It'd be interesting to see how Adams' calendar aligns if you then get rid of the axis altogether. But I don't know how that works, because I thought a lot of this stuff is kind of the precession of the equinox and the sort of tilt of the planet, and as it gradually switches and comes back on itself and goes back. I thought they use that as an indicator to measure stuff. So I don't know how you go about doing the star alignment stuff without the precession. You know, I don't. Maybe someone needs to figure that out. I don't know, but yeah, oh no, is that going to be on me then? Just wondering. I've said it, so I've got it. You said it. You dealt it. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I wasn't that great at maths, but I don't know. It just seems like a weird thing, though. It's a weird thing. Can't believe that golden mean looks wicked over Africa, but yeah. It's just, yeah, have a look at this stuff. This is what I logged. It's just to see. There's some weird stuff about Adam's calendar. They've got these weird cones shaped weirdness tools. There was talk of, if you're familiar with Robert Lee Scouden, who did a Coral Castle, Coral Castle, he was supposed to have some cone-shaped tools as well. Kids saw him and described him as using these, had these ice cream cones. So I don't know. I mean, that could be worth having a look at. But yeah, well, it all is. Yeah, check out Coral Castle. Maybe do a show on that, because that was pretty fascinating as well. But yeah, I mean, there's these crucibles. It definitely looks to me like it's cymatics. I'll get rid of this Google Earth picture. It definitely looks to me like it's cymatic patterns is what we're looking at, is how the radial arrangement of some of these stone circles look. Okay, I definitely recommend going on Michael Tellinger's website, because I'm saying, and support it if you can. So they've got these strange tools. They've got some that are torus shaped and some that are cone shaped, some that are long rods, ring like a bell, and the torus ones almost as if they seem to be emitting sound as well, emitting frequencies, and some of them are, like I say, they'll crack if you put it near the torus. And there's a lot of stuff to sort of get into, and there's because there's these unusual spheres that come from this kind of region as well, called the Clerk spheres. Zoom in a bit here. Yeah, the Clerk spheres. They're thought to be up to 2.8 billion years old. And it's really weird, because the edges of them are like molten, they almost seem like molten metal, but you can cut them open and they're like kind of sand on the inside. So it's like, has it got molten on the outside but didn't on the inside? Yeah, it's like some specific process it's got, but no one knows what they're for. So it's definitely worth checking this stuff out, you know. So, I mean, I hope I've not bored you too much or rumbled on too much, and I hope you've enjoyed this show and this quick look into South Africa and Adam's calendar, the possibility that some ancient civilization, mining, cloning. I don't know what the cloning stuff is. That would have to be a show on itself, but yeah. Yeah, like a special Sumerian show, Anunnaki or something. But yeah, I mean, so what you think, folks? So what you think? You check this stuff out, and I'll catch you next time on the Exiled Minds podcast with Liam Martin. Made a special little tune here to end this show with, like an Adam's calendar one, because I can do that, because I'm good. Anyway, you take it easy, folks. I'll catch you soon. Exiled Minds podcast with Liam Martin. This is episode 9, Adam's Calendar. There you go. the proof. Right, you take it easy. I'll see you soon. And
we're dealing with King Solomon's mines. You know,
take care of
the
yourself.
Land of Ophir? If we compare the land of
See you later.
Ophir and the land of Abzu,
Bye-bye.
if this place called Abzu is where most of the gold in human history has come from, then clearly we're sitting on top of it right now. It's still coming from here today, most of the gold in the world from southern Africa. And this has been going on for hundreds of thousands of years. So if we're going to try and find the Abzu by process of elimination, then let's find the place where most of the gold in human history has come from. This is clearly the place. In southern Africa. Adams Calender. Adams Calender. Adams Calender. Adams Calender. When you read the Sumerian tablets and the translations, especially of Sitchin, talks about the fashioning of Adamu. And when Adamu was born, they say, look at the color of his skin, dark red, like the color of the soil. They describe his features. He had short, curly black hair, and his skin was smooth as the Anunnaki. Yeah! Solomon's mines, you know, where's the land of Ophir?
It's